I can't believe I wasted all this money on this thing. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know how this works. Oh, hi! I'm just trying out this 16mm projector, which I know all about and how to work. And today I'm going to watch my super rare film of Flaming Creatures, which I own from Jack Smith's personal archives, and I'm going to watch it now on my projector here. So let's take a look at Flaming Creatures.
Before the first drink, each driver made 8 trips through the courses to establish
This isn't
a normal
Flaming
performance.
Creatures, is it?
Every driver recorded almost
Flaming Creatures is an experimental movie from 1963 by underground film provocateur Whistling Jack Smith. Okay, his name's really just Jack Smith. And his movies fall under the category of what I lovingly refer to as OHF, also known as Occult Hippies Flailing. Certainly the works of the recently deceased Kenneth Anger would apply, as well as The Invasion of Thunderbolt Pagoda. So what you can look forward to in films like this is that there's no real plot, and the characters are probably just people that the director knows. Yes, I think you can tell by now if this movie's gonna be up your alley or not. All $300 are right up there on the screen. Hey, this movie, it overtakes The Last Broadcast as the film on this channel with the lowest budget. This is one of those films where perhaps the backstory is more compelling than the actual film. I can remember trying to get through this movie on YouTube at least 10 years ago and not really remembering much of what happened. I watched it last night and I still can't really remember much of what happened. The real standout scene is this like horrible nightmarish orgy that was pretty striking as well as disturbing. This movie was a lot more disturbing than I remember actually, and just in general off-putting. I can see this sort of thing, besides being a big influence on the likes of John Waters and Andy Warhol, which makes total sense. Also people like Michael Gira or Genesis Pio Rouge. Jack Smith has the rare distinction of being critically lauded by the underground and looked at as a figure of much distinction and trailblazing in terms of gay cinema, underground cinema, transgressive art, drag culture. And yet so many of his films are hard to come by. That's a great racket. I'm telling you, bro, his films are transformative. And Flaming Creatures in particular has that cool factor because it was actually raided and seized upon by police during a screening in February of 1964 in New York. And for a while it became the de facto ultimate underground film because it was just a symbol of censored art. And it was actually shown in some congressional hearings. Man, I wish I could have been there to see that. At about 42 minutes, it's anything but a brisk watch. It features mostly non-connected vignettes that just feature people in drag or in costumes flailing around or often doing sexually perverse things. It was supposedly filmed on film stock that Jack Smith stole, and since the movie was unavailable and not mass-produced for many years, really the only way to watch it is a dog-eared copy on Internet Archive. And with all the extreme close-ups throughout much of the film, all in all, it gave me a pretty similar viewing experience as Begotten. At times, the extreme close-ups and atmosphere of the movie is very enthralling, but then just as often it can really, really drag on for too long, and no matter how hard I try to concentrate, my mind just starts to stray at some point. Kind of like probably how you've maybe strayed from this video already or turned it up. It's also got that freewheeling energy of casting your friends or non-actors and kind of trusting them with their performance and just having them be themselves. Also, the soundtrack being made up of what sounds like the director's own personal collection of scratchy records. This movie gives me the vibe of like an art house version of something that you would just put on at a stag party, because there are literally shots in the movie of someone just like flagellating someone else's groin. Not, you know, pleasuring them, just kind of, here it is. Like, it's very, very apparent that shots like that are in there just to rile people up and scare the bombs. And I am never one to support censorship. Let the hippies flagellate their groins all they want, but I can 100% see why the police were coming down so hard on this movie and ultimately it becoming, labeled as obscene. Movies of this type are very hit or miss. They can be either very effective or a pretentious waste of time, especially with such a simple, limited palette. I was very prepared to just kind of dismiss this movie as a pretentious waste of time, and although I certainly wouldn't say that I fell under its, visual spell, at least for not the full running time, this did come off a little bit more absorbing than I initially thought it would be. I kind of liked it. It's almost like I just more love the idea of, someone from the group like Moms of Liberty walking in on their child watching this. I think the most charitable way to look at this movie is in a similar way that when Smith made his follow-up to this, Normal Love, he would show that movie sometimes in parts. And that's maybe how you should view this movie, just in parts. Or it's kind of like a perfect movie to have on in the background and you can put your own soundtrack over it, like this. This is almost like one of those movies that you watch just to say that you survived it. I had more of a connection towards it than I thought I would. I still didn't love it. It's the sort of film you have to see once and then you're free to go. Speaking of going, I think it's about that time. Stay sexy.